We'll start here at the login portal, or the front-end dashboard view, where we display the headline information established that user wishes to see. So we're showing here a sample set of data and a sample set of gauges and dials, which show clearly at the top end progress of our top 10 of those work orders and their status against the build program. And we can see here that a number of items, this item here in particular, is overdue. We have other items which are progressing well and probably don't need our attention, but this item certainly does, and we'll come back and have a closer look at that shortly. We can see we have some performance indicator dials, and we have some quality information here showing us the headlines of the DPMO levels, the first pass yield, and the Pareto of defects. We have a number of alerts here established which show the status of those alerts and the reason for those alerts. So if you were to look at this example, we have an overdue work order here and we want to have a look more closely at this. We can really click on this work order and have a much more in-depth view by drilling down through that information through to the actual work order against the operations plan, which is established here. And this is one of the pieces of information we would bring in from our NPI, our manufacturing data management system, to ensure we have the correct operations plan identified for that product. And we can see here the customer name, the assembly type, and most importantly we have the number of units we would expect this work order to contain. But in fact we can see we've actually only started 83. So we have an issue that even though the work order is overdue, we are 7 short for delivery. But also we can see that we have a problem here where a number of items have entered electronics QC but have not left. So we are 13 items here stuck in this electronics QC. And we have other items semi-stuck in our other operations. This information against the operations plan will allow us to progress this item and ensure that we are able to make up for these missing 7 units, because we now know there are 7 missing units, so we can ship as quickly as possible. And of course if we use this correctly, we would make sure all of these are in green and we wouldn't get to the situation where we would be overdue. So if we look more closely at some of the other areas, we might wish to look at quality issues, and we can drill down here through our solder defects. And what we see here are a much more detailed breakdown of the types of solder defects we've seen within that Pareto of defects. And we get a clear indication that our major defects over this time period are with excessive solder. Not a big surprise to many people in the quality world or in the SMT manufacturing world. Should we wish to drill down through this further, we can keep clicking on this information and we'll end up all the way down to the component identities that have caused us to have this excessive solder defects. But for now we'll go back to the overview and we'll have a look at the first pass yield information. This is an interesting chart because this typically takes a long time to collect the data, to analyze the data, and then distribute the data throughout the factory. With the BI solution, this becomes an automated process. The data is collected automatically, the analytics are performed automatically, and the distribution to the end clients is also achieved automatically. And this can be via email, or as in this case, you can log on and see the information on request. But of course, if we see an issue, we can export this and send this information to any other recipient we feel should receive this information so they can perform corrective action processes. We can again filter this to show differing ranges of timescales, different product types, or different processes. What we can also do is have a look at specific printed circuit board assembly numbers to have a look at their process history. This process history will allow us to look at any potential problems we had with that product and we can use this as part of our record for product traceability. Here we can see by entering this serial number, we can get the PCBA history for this serial number, and we can see that it's been through a number of manual operation stages, each of which found a defect. This was the symptom, and the defect, the shifted component or the excess solder, has been recorded against that product and will be permanently maintained along with that product history. So a very useful piece of information we have here. We have the product process history and any of those defects associated with that product. If we further look at this and have a look at the materials history for this product, we can see by entering the same serial number, we find which assembly operation this product was manufactured, where these components were placed, the program used to place these components, and the part number. This is a sample set, so it's a simple product with a simple number of components. And we have the real ID associated with the origins of that component. And if we wish, we can click on this real ID and find all the serial numbers associated with that reel that have been assembled using the components from that reel. This is a very powerful function that was described to us by one of our customers as something that takes them today 6 hours to perform the same analysis. We can provide the same analysis using a BI solution within just a few simple mouse clicks. Now, of course, as we described, a number of people will want to have more detailed analytical information that they can slice and dice, generate pivot tables, these sorts of views that they're familiar with Excel, to allow them to move the information and look at the information in different ways. And we provide that with our interactive analytics. Here we can have a look at a more familiar Excel style pivot table view of the same data. And we're looking here at the monthly real manufacturer's report, where we're showing the defects we've seen and the quantity of defects against the manufacturers of those components. A very useful report should we wish to actively go and engage with our materials vendors to improve their product quality. What we're seeing here is there are a number of options we can select. We can select more dimensions in our pivot table, and we can choose to export this information and keep this information up to date with new information as it comes in.